Greetings, I'm Paddy Upton, the Rajasthan Royals head coach, and I've also been fortunate to work with the South African and the Indian national cricket teams as the mental conditioning coach and performance director. And what I'd like to do today is share some of the ideas and some thinking around particularly the mental conditioning aspect of cricket. What I'm going to begin sharing with you if you're a player is possibly the most important thing that I can share with you in this video. If you happen to be a coach, it's also probably the most important thing I can share, but it may well, if you're the old school command and control type coach, it might be the most threatening thing that you're going to hear on the video. And I'm going to talk about, as a player, how are you going to go about learning and becoming experienced, like the Rahul Dravids or the Shane Watsons were at the end of their career. What we do know is, across all sports, the best sportsmen and sportswomen in the world know more about their game than anybody else. They're masters in their game. How do they do that? Well, in cricket, the way we learn is we play the game. Now, in order to learn from playing the game, we then need to, after the game, to go and reflect on the game. And the way we do that these days is we go and watch a video, maybe we look at the stats, we look at our wagon wheel, but we reflect afterwards on what happened during the game. In order to learn from that reflection, we then need to analyze, okay, what worked, what didn't work, why did it work, why didn't it work? And when we have an understanding of what happened in the game, that's looking back at the last game, then we begin to plan for the next game. So how am I going to take this learning from the last game and implement it into the next game? Once we've come up with a plan, what happens in all cricket? We take it into practice, and maybe we decide to practice another shot, maybe we decide to bowl our slow ball a little bit slower, a little bit faster, whatever it might be. We practice whatever it is that we've decided on we're going to take into the next game in order to improve. And so we go again. Now we put in practice in that game what it is that we learned. And the more games we play, the more times we go around this learning cycle, the more experienced we become. And that's why it takes spin bowlers maybe up to the age of 28 before they really understand the game. Fast bowlers maybe age of 26 they start maturing. Some batsmen only around the age of 30 because they've gone around that learning cycle so many times. The reason today players are taking so long, 26, 28, 30 years old, is what happens in reality, unless you're very lucky, that learning cycle, your learning cycle is broken in half. How does that happen? The reflecting, analyzing and planning aspects, the thinking functions of the learning, practicing and playing, that's we physically on the field, we're doing things, hitting ball, bowling balls, is the doing cycle. And what traditionally happens in cricket, and this is what I want to share with you, this is the crux of what I'm talking about, is coaches do the reflecting, they analyze our game, maybe in the net something's going wrong, we call the coach, come and go and we'll have a look at my hands or my feet or my head. We ask the coach to reflect, the coach to analyze and plan. Even in international cricket, when we're planning for a game, playing against another team, the coach and the video analyst do all the analysis of the opposition and they come and they present to the coach, to the players, the plan. When we rely on coaches to do the thinking and tell us what to do, in other words, how to play, they tell us the plan, and all we do is we pitch up at practice, we do whatever the coach tells us. In the game we go out, we follow the coach's instructions, we are breaking our learning cycle in half. And the best players in the world take responsible for their own reflection. Yes, they use coaches, they also use other players and other experts. They take responsibility for their own analysis, and we're going to get to the mental side of the game now to see why only you as player can do the mental analysis. The coach cannot help you with this. And the best players in the world do their own planning. They use a number of other people, not just their coach. So what's important here is that you are taking responsibility for your own reflection, analysis, and planning. In your career, you'll have many coaches. What I can tell you is none of them will have all the answers for your game. They will help you, but you cannot rely on the coach to take your game forward. You've got to take it forward. I had a conversation with Dale Steyn recently and I asked him, of how much coaching advice have you got, do you think, in your professional career since you've been playing with South Africa? And he reckons about 100 pieces of advice have been given to him by so-called experts, players, coaches, mentors, ex-players. And I said to him, how many of those pieces of advice really made a difference and changed your game? He says 1, maybe 2. So you need to take responsibility for your game. A guy like Shane Watson, a guy like Rahul Dravid, towards the end of their career, they never relied on their coach to tell them how to practice or what to do at practice. They arrived at practice knowing what they needed to do to take their game forward. I challenge you to start taking that amount of responsibility for your game. What we want is you to become the own expert in your game as you go through. Maybe these days a top international player will maybe have 15, 20, even as many as 20 coaches in their career. They need to be their own best coach. And I'm going to go forward now talking about, well, if you're going to coach yourself, what are the important pieces of the equation?